Hey, everybody. Well, it is a Sunday afternoon. Makini would normally be streaming at about 2:30 Central, 12:30 Pacific. But today, Makini is not feeling well. He's got a tooth which is abscessed. He was on the culture stream. He talked about 4 or 5 times and just got done chatting with him. So we'll be having Zevius come in with us next week. He's a professional artist, not like me, who's an amateur painter, not like Makini, who is a amazing artist, but still not quote unquote master. He's a journeyman. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm getting ready to fan this out and send it to my social media, which probably is not going to be as inclusive as others. How's everybody out there today, though? That's the thing I want to know. Got Shadzar, got Travis. Yeah, Legion of Myth is still streaming. We always stream at the same time on Sundays. Not that we try to step on each other's dicks. We have a lot of respect for each other. A lot of people do, but there's other people out there that they might not want to hear a deep dive on Palladium or whatever RPG you have. And that's nothing against their quality of content. It's all about basically, what you can offer. So let me finish up getting the word out on Gab and Mines. I'm going to focus completely on painting figurines. Thank you, Gab. Thank you, Mines. Back to the show. JD, holla, how you doing today? Hola. Travis is in good shape. Family's gone, so he has a vacation today. Joe, how have you been, Joe? Didn't know the Irish spoke Spanish. He's Scottish, if that's the Joe we know and love out of Scotland. Okay, today this is no surprise, a Paizo fig. Paizo's kind of going through a situation right now. I don't think they're really messed up. I think they are positioning themselves to do another Pathfinder-esque steal from Wizards. And the reason I say that is that we were talking about this on Thursday. One of the last things we talked about at Table Breakers. And Kai brought up a point. Kai brought up the point that back in the day, we had Paizo, which was writing a lot of the Darkwood Vale books, I think, is what they were. And they were series of adventures that were before the APs back in 2006, 05. And you had like one that was continuing in this dwarven stronghold. You got 2 levels per adventure. And they had Revenge of the Goblin, or Revenge of the Kobold King is one of the free to play adventures from Free RPG Day, which wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It was good cheddar for your campaign. You run that, and it's an event-based adventure. And here's that pesky Kobold King. He's now undead, so he was kind of a Kobold Lich. neat little adventure. But you have all these really kind of iconic adventures that took place. And this is before Rise of the Rune Lords was even a thing. You had this town with a, hey, Makini Draws, how you doing, sir? Shadow and Sun. Um, you had this adventure series where all the players were in this little logging town, and there was a kind of a mafia in place, so you couldn't get too far until you really like stayed away from town and leveled up and came back, and now you were the bully. Travis, I do that. I open a color and I find figs that need that color, and that's exactly how I do this. I don't do this any other way. I have a paint palette. Stay wet paint palettes are the way to go, I feel, because I'll be able to put a lid on this tonight, and then, in theory, tomorrow it will still be ready to paint. Makini, I hope your tooth feels better after your dentist visit, man. Kind of stinks. Shadow and Sun, I'm going to send you a link on Discord. Hello, the lovely Sherry. How are you, hon? Hopefully everybody's having a great Sunday. Shadow and Sun, I know you don't like Discord, but if you want to pop in, I am willing to talk about tabletop games and miniatures and art for the most part, although I'm sure we will eventually go over to other topics which are incendiary. It seems to be like the thing. Sherry says she's great. She's making dinner. Hopefully she's doing good. Uh, Travis, a lot of people I know are not into 40K or fantasy, but they buy the figs because their figs are really good for detail, especially their older metal figs. But you really gotta hunt for those nowadays. Everything went over to plastic last 15 years. But no, getting some white on here. I'm going to darken that with a shader in about 2 or less colors. I was thinking about it where I was going to come on as the character, the confused modernist, a poor sap of an individual that he has a Bob Ross like wig and or mop of hair, and he talks about how great the woke lifestyle is. But I didn't know if it would be acceptable for me to do that. We have so many people that are ready to be offended nowadays. I better stay off the internet. You know what I mean? So, and Travis, you're right. The figurines for Warhammer for Games Workshop, that label, they're very high priced for very little. bringing the squats back. What do you mean the squats? Do you mean the space dwarves? I'm getting clarification because when I hear squats, that's what I think of. And used to get booted off of the Warhammer forums for saying squats. Yeah, JP does that already. They're bringing the squats back. Shadzar, stay away from them as much as possible, says Shadow and Sun. New models are awesome. Squats are a gimmick now. They're losing players money, so they think they're going to go back a generation or two and net some grandfather that was playing Warhammer when it was brand new and edgy. Really appreciate you guys being in the chat today. Wasn't expecting any level of success today, especially after I looked at the numbers for yesterday. Yesterday was a gaming stream, and game streams are different than other streams because typically they're boring. I mean, not everybody has got Matt Mercer money, and when I say that, he's not rich. He made $10 million, but you live in California. There's 20%. You live there. You have cost of living. You have electricity bills to light the studio and get the servers up. The poor guys at Critical Role. And I'm not trying to bring more people to Texas, mind you, but if they went to Texas, and even in Austin, even if they went to Austin, Texas, they could drop their operating cost by $1 million a year, I bet. Shadzar says, who's coming back to 40K after 20 years? I don't know anybody that plays 40K from 1997. I know a person that still has the figures, but he doesn't go to conventions. He doesn't try to do the scene because of the fact that they won't even allow you to take the old figurines from like 3 generations or three editions ago. If you're going to bring them into a tournament, the wizards over at these conventions get pissed. Hey, that's the 3rd edition Minotaur. You can't have that. That's the 3rd edition Minotaur Lord. Travis, Austin is a cesspool. I completely agree. I stay out of Austin. I live in San Antonio. San Antonio's getting bad. We're getting the spillover tech. My son and I play Aeronautica and are going to play Titanicus, but we mostly play the Epic Space Marines. Everything else sucks. Yeah. I don't understand why people would want to get into it after it's already lost its edge, after it's already lost its cool. It's one of those things that miniatures is not something that you invest in. Okay. You do this for the cathartic joy of I want to paint. When he says Epic Space Marines, JD, I'm willing to bet he's talking about the Epic scale, where you could have the micro machines version of Warhammer 40K. Epic used to be the scale where you had super tiny 15 millimeter scale, or it's almost 15 millimeter scale. GW doesn't support it anymore, and it was the best thing that happened to the game. Yes, I agree. 6 millimeter. It's horrible. It's super small. Shadow says, I hate planned obsolescence, so I normally stay away from companies that rely on it like WotC and GW. Okay. I would almost say that all companies have planned obsolescence, but I would say they don't do it on the frequency that GW does, where they go every year or 2 or 4, and they don't do it like WotC, which is variable between 3 years. 3 years and 6 years. Because that seems to be about the operating for D&D right now. We had a golden age from 74 to 80, no, 77 to 88, which is 11 years. And then you had another golden age repeated from second ed to third ed from 88 to 99. Hey, Fischoso. And this was 22 years of you could basically play the same game. You would have the guys that would be there screaming about, this is not the same game. Second ed and first ed, and Chad Darrow punch me for this, but second ed and first ed, you can convert between the two. You don't even really have to worry about what edition you're playing because it's at your table. Most of you aren't going to go to Gen Con and say, I'm running a society game. I'm running a game that is going to be curated by the manufacturer themselves. No. Most of you have a garage game or a home table game, or if you like me, you have a remote game. GW doesn't support Necromunda anymore, but it's coming back. And they put out a variety or a variation of Vermintide for it. 6 millimeter scale. Yeah. I didn't know if it was 15 or I said 15 because the early miniatures were 15 millimeter. Whole armies instead of company size. It was great. 6 millimeters, super easy to paint. Vistroso says hello. Palladium's a great example of non-planned obsolescence. I would agree with that. I would actually agree that Kevin Simbada probably wrote the most long-lived, almost mainstream game. Palladium's almost mainstream. I mean, anybody that plays tabletop games for any length of time will hear about it. If you were a kid in the 80s, you heard about it because it had everything you wanted. It had Robotech, it had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You had so many different varieties. You could have different ways to play Palladium, and it was cross-platform. Steve Jackson Games and Palladium really nailed down the universal aspect of one system, and you, the player, just had to decide what were you going to run. Shadow and Sun, when you say you stick with first edition as there's still a lot of content, I got to ask you, do you run, is that first ed D&D, first ed Palladium? What is that? You have all the Necromunda stuff and plan on playing it soon. You don't need the new stuff. No, you shouldn't need anything new from Necromunda, and it's not going to be nearly the same as what the old stuff was either. AD&D, okay. Especially if you have the dungeon magazines. The dungeon magazines from that era were filled with gold. And I'm going to say that. I'll never stop saying that. You have Dungeon Magazine, you have at least 20 hours of gaming right there per issue. That was the best value in the entire industry. Shadzar, you don't care for Dungeon that much? I can understand that. But the thing is that as a GM, it's a gold mine because somebody's already made a player character. They've already made, or a non-player character. They've already got a setting or a sample town, something. I mean, for me, it was a gold mine of material because we had a Judges Guild here in Decatur, and I say here I'm referencing the fact that I grew up in Decatur, Illinois. And then all of a sudden, it was gone. There was a lot of problems within that little house, and so we watched it closed, and a lot of tables still remained open. A lot of people still played at those guys' houses, or they did things to still kind of keep in contact with each other. it wasn't until the 2000s that you start having a lot of the guys dying off, and that's just going to happen. Get used to that. The thing you're doing right now, 20 years from now, you're going to be at 2 or 3 funerals of people that you were associating with. Shazar says, I don't like many adventures. He doesn't like published adventures. He has his own setting. He can make anything else for it. Okay. Dungeon was 3 or 4 game modules and a $3 magazine every month. And individually, a module was like $7 to $10. Yeah, I remember that because I bought all of the basic rules cyclopedia modules that came out. My dad asked me one day when I was like 16, he says, why don't you make your own adventures? Dad, I don't know why I don't make my own adventures. It's just consumerism. Dad, you already have 35 different types of wood power tools. Why do we got to go and buy you one more? Do you really need this type of saw? My dad showed me why he would buy different woodworking tools after a while. Shadow and Sun, there's a link for you in the Discord if you want to pop in and paint with. Not that you can't paint and listen, but if you want to interact on a vocal level. Yeah. So that was kind of the upbringing I had. It was a good life living in the middle of nowhere. Do I miss that area? There's a part of my brain, I think a lot of you guys do it too, where you have this running commentary or narrative in your head where maybe a relative or a friend didn't die, and so you have this discussion. Maybe I'm in the middle of Milliput for tonight's video. Okay. But I know since I turned in my 40s and family started to die off, you get depressed whenever you are thinking about it, like, man, I haven't heard from this guy. Oh, they're gone. They're dead. Whoops. And you have that. You have that where, like, you're functioning in your head, and because you haven't heard their voice in a while, you forget the fact they might have perished. So you wonder about that. And with me, it's overactive imagination, maybe, but you still hear your grandfather talking about things or coughing up a lung. Shadow and Sun is working with Milliput. Yeah. Yeah, Travis, it's the same damn thing. Earlier I said, the things you're doing right now, 20 years from now, you're going to be at a bunch of funerals for people that you loved or cared for or worked with. There was about 4 guys I knew that they were in bad shape back in 17, and I was driving around for Uber right before the month of March started, and it was not a bad thing for me. I had a Civic that was basically leased at a high rate of pay, but at a high rate of leasing, but I had unlimited miles on it. So I took that, and I was just driving around everywhere in Texas. My parents bitch about Texas because it's very, very spread out. Well, between Austin and San Antonio, there's about 3 million people. And I was farming with Uber on that. getting very fat behind the wheel, fatter than what I am now. And so I was able to make good money, but these guys were in bad shape, and I met a couple of them and started driving these fellows around. And then 2020 started doing it again because that was when I left the oil field. 2019, my bad. And two of the four were already at the hospice at the little veteran center, and they got a hold of COVID. I don't want to say COVID got a hold of them, but it's kind of like the same way that, you go to a port and you happen to catch the same venereal disease the last ship had. Well, kind of the same way. Multi Gunman, how you doing? And those four guys aren't here with us anymore because whatever they had in their body made it to where they were very susceptible to the China virus. I wasn't as susceptible as everybody was saying I was. They were also putting remdesivir in my body, which is not. If you have any say, if you've got a friend going to the hospital for that crap, and they're putting remdesivir in them, you better scream at the top of your lungs if you love that person. My dad was that way. He was a crew chief on Huey's in Vietnam. He didn't talk to most of his old friends for decades. He was lonely. After I joined, we could actually talk again. We could relate to each other. Okay, that's pretty cool. Travis, Multi Gunman's in the chat. He had an old friend and found out they had reunions. You start bumping into some of those old characters, and you feel like you get your vitality back. You feel like you are a newer or reinvigorated man. For those of you that like 1970s country western music, if you haven't already heard, the singer known as C.W. McCall, he wrote and sang the song Convoy. He has passed as of the 1st of this month. Hell of a April Fool's Day to transgress against us, but he's downshifting with some of the best now. I didn't see Convoy till last year. I had always heard the song. One of my neighbors always played that when I went rolling around in his old truck when I was a young kid. We had some country neighbors outside of Decatur. Hi, Janet. How are you today? We had a pretty good living. My dad was a machinist, and they put me outside of Decatur, Illinois, which is a small burg, about 90,000 people at the time in the 70s. Hold on just a second. Copy. There we go. So anyway, we had the Nisleys, which lived like right down the road, and none of you people would probably know them. Shadow and Sun, let me pull her up real quick. Hold on. Janet does a bunch of shorts and singles advice, and she's funny as hell. You guys aren't subscribed to Janet from Another Planet. There's your link right there. I'll be watching Max's show on a repeat tonight. I don't put Palladium on a very high priority list. I do like Kevin Simbala for some of his work, not all of it. A lot of Shadow and Son's friends aren't available, so he's not around them. All right. Anyway. I actually like in the long term scheme of things, I like the lore he does for Rifts, and I like the lore that Kevin does for Palladium Fantasy. The system for Palladium Fantasy, I would just rather convert that to basic style D&D. Yeah.
Well, if we need that, but
Yikes. No problem, Janet. I would like to see you get about 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. But let's see. My son and I will be painting some very cool John Carter minis tonight, if anybody's interested. Who made the John Carter minis? That's what I want to know. Because you talk about John Carter in a positive light, and there's some people out there that they get kind of suspect of you. They think, hey, this person, they're not following mainstream narratives. They're not listening to what the great Disney has to say. And that's kind of a problem because the authoritarians are trying to get firmly within control. They're not really in it for you or me. We're in our 30s, 40s, 50s. Now, they want Shadow and Son's kid. They want your grandkids. They want your children. The Disney employees are revolting. I want to believe that. I do, but I'm not seeing it. The Disney John Carter movie was crap. We disagree a little bit on that, but and that's completely all right because I don't want to like everything in your video library. I know there's a lot of things I really appreciate. Shadow and Son answers my inquiry about John Carter miniatures, Bronze Age miniatures. Please check out their site. They have great minis, a lot of adult themed minis, but a lot of great minis nonetheless. You know, I used to have an old Games Workshop figurine. It was more like a diorama where this guy was rescuing this princess and he was coming on a griffin with her wrapped around his arm and her boobs are out. Her boobs were out. And while he's flying on this griffin, he's got his spear jamming down into the clouds, which is one of the supports for the miniature. And you can see this giant toothed, fanged maw coming out of the cloud. And he was shoving his spear right into it. Shadow and Son, you're not the only one that liked that John Carter movie. Was it the best movie of all time? No. Was it enjoyable and good for popcorn munching? Yes. Well, Travis, I agree with you that Disney is going to perish. I would love to see that, especially after the shit that happened last week with their don't say I'm a groomer bill, but they're all wanting to be groomers. They want to groom your kids. That's it. That's what they want. Disney wants to get a hold of your children and they want to try to screw them up mentally and give them to big pharma and get them hooked on smack or whatever the current easy to manufacture crap drug is, I don't even know how big pharma can look itself in the eye at night. How can it look itself in the mirror? Yeah, they do stick their politics and everything, Shads are, and everything. And I think we all agree that Disney's been on the wrong track for too many years. More years have been spent in my lifetime where Disney has been trying to screw things up than when they've tried to actually be a company that could, you could feel good about wasting your money there. Even and I love Park Hop and I love the Geeks and Gamers guys for the most part. They kind of get it. They're almost on track, but they're like they're like, don't be woke, don't be woke. We're going to Disney for park hopping. God damn it. Stop it. Stop going to Disney. Travis, what you're saying there, you say, I may be wrong in saying the film was crap. I remember the books, and I think they did a very great disservice. Okay. The books, we needed a John Carter series. We need a John Carter series to be made by somebody who's not woke, and a Solomon Kane series, and actual money needs to be thrown at it for it to be really good. Either you're going to use that money in set design or on filming locations, somewhere where you're not going to bump into a lot of people and skilled stuntmen. Shads are Geeks and Gamers. I'm not donating money to them anymore because they have a 5E live stream now, and the guy is unrepentantly stupid about running 5E. Instead of running first or second or any other game, he's running the shitty version of D&D, as I call it, even though 4th Ed was really the shittier version. And they keep doing Disney trips. It's like, why are you giving money to people who hate you? It never makes sense to me. Shadow and Sun says, I'm doing a whole month of John Carter and Burroughs related videos all of April. I hope you guys come and check us out. Hold on. Another skilled YouTuber. This is a father and son channel. Really a good guy. He popped in for the Friday stream we did while we're waiting on Max to not be doing experiments in lawn care. Shadow and Sun, I put your channel link there. For those of you guys that are not subscribed to Shadow and Sun, I do request you do that. He is an actually good painter. He's got some quality thoughts about various games and game theory. Shadzar says, when Geeks and Gamers stops opening their wallets to Disney and WotC, they can be trusted again. He would have preferred a Yui Bowl John Carter movie than what Disney made. Oh, man. Well, I guess it's not so bad. I mean, you could have said I would have preferred the Roger Corman Canon Films-esque Captain America movie. Shadow has better camera quality than most other channels. I think Sun controls the camera. Janet says, I'm going to sub. Shadow, what type of camera do you use for your camera work? I have noticed that your camera quality is fucking par. It sets the standard for painters. I I disagree with your last sentence there, Travis. You say that Starship Troopers is a good example, good movie in its own right, but hardly anything to do with the book. The director never read the book and didn't care. I really disagree with that because there's one 2 minute portion of Starship Troopers that actually is directly from the book. They had to put it in, and that's the part where they had one piece of shit. They had one piece of shit soldier that did a heinous capital crime, and they were going to show everybody by example what happens to people that take an oath and renege on it. And I think that part there, if they could have kept that same tone throughout the entire film, it would have been great. But that Starship Troopers, I think there's a lot of studio interference that went into that movie. The wife controls the camera and she says, "Thank you," says Shadow and Son. The Halo show, they don't care. Travis, they did put that in the movie. They did. They show you 2 minutes where they're going through all the things that are happening that night, and 8 o'clock and all stations, all networks, they're showing the execution of a soldier. That was the only place where they could actually honor Heinlein. Everything else in that movie, you're right, it's not from Heinlein's book. It's from potentially that universe, but it is completely not what we were expecting. And yeah, I mean, it's an okay movie. Actually, it's a really good movie, I think, because even though it's not the Starship Troopers I wanted, and I watched the movie before I read the book. I was only 22 when the movie came out. Something about I needed money to do stuff, so I didn't get a chance to sit in the library in my first 2 years of life and read the greats. I had to do that through time. You guys should be happy to know I'll be reading the Bulgarian this year. They whipped Rico for his leadership fail. Okay. The guy from the news blip was not shown as a soldier. I thought they did. I thought that was a. I want to get ripped for this. I thought he was a soldier as per the movie. I know in the book he was one of their own because that was something that Rico made sure you understood. Like, no, we can't let this slide. We have to put our foot down. Now, it was interesting when I took my dad to go see that movie because I got to see it twice. A lot of times when I like a movie, I'll see that multiple times. Sometimes in different companies, sometimes with just myself. Remember what it used to be like before COVID, kids? I'll be reading the first one, Shadow and Sun. Hey, awesome one. Travis is like, no, they did not show the fact he was a soldier. Okay. So I know in the book Rico made a huge deal about that. Like, no, we must punish this guy. We cannot let him look like we're going light on him. He did something horrible. We must. Maybe the blonde guy took crap, but Rico took charge for the other guy getting killed. Yeah. Big, dumb, and stupid from Texas. Rico got the Roughnecks after what's his face got killed. Yes. Yeah, Tim. I've been on every day this weekend, and it wasn't intentional. The book, the guy hit Sergeant Zim in a training exercise and they nailed him for that. Rapist or murderer, whole different person. I remember that young lady that shot that dude in the head. You see her walking up Washout Lane when all that happens. For all of its cheesiness, that's actually one of the better films of the 90s. You guys will disagree probably, but I really enjoy Starship Troopers, the movie. Shadzar says it's really cheesy. Not so good. It looks like a 40K ripoff. 40K wasn't that well known at the time. Only a gamer at the time would know about 40K. Granted, I think most of the game store owners back in 97 were 40 to 60-year-old people. There might have been some young pups that were owners, but most of the people that owned game stores back then, they were seasoned. And when they see something like a Robert Heinlein movie going into production, it's going to be at the local movie house, they would do what they could to go see it, especially if it had any good press behind it, if people liked it. Now, back then, I don't remember a lot of people really enjoying Starship Troopers. I liked it. My friend Eric looked at me like I was an idiot, like, this movie had no soul. What do you mean? What do you mean it had no soul? It tells a story. Yeah. It delivered in spades for being a shoot 'em up movie, Shadow and Son. You're right. And this is also in 1996 when they made it, so it wasn't going to have the finest CGI. The practical effects, though, were fantastic. Okay. So, I haven't heard anybody that liked Morbius yet, Janet. I haven't heard a single person say they thought it was a worthwhile use of their time. Everybody I know so far has said it's like a 1990s made for TV vampire movie. And I feel sorry for that because there were some people I know that like Culture's Casino really wanted to see it. Janet says I liked it. Janet, there's a link for you in your Discord. If you want to come on, I'd be willing to listen to your dissertation of the Morbius film. Maybe you will illuminate some things for people and be able to showcase as to why whenever it comes out on video or on demand, they should spend some time watching it because it can't be that horrible of a show. Even Captain Marvel had. Okay, never mind. Tim says it was pretty good according to a friend of his, but it doesn't interest Tim himself. Do we need another vampire film? We didn't need Twilight to kill the goth movement. No offense to Master of the TDS if he and Raven are out there, but the goth is dead. Okay, Shadzar, there's a wealth of men in their 70s and below that still want a big titty goth girl. There, I said it. Okay. vampires were murdered by Twilight. Travis concurs, and Janet says, I have the Midnight Sun series. What is the Midnight Sun series? First time Morbius was introduced in Spider-Man 101 in 1962. And if you guys are fans of geek things and you aren't subscribed to Janet, she does talk about geek things from time to time. She has a very nice geek shrine in her abode. I'm not a super fan of Marvel. Hey, Carol's Cookies, how are you? Yeah, Morbius is a very small comic that Marvel produced. That's the problem that I saw this. Shadzar tries to tell me that what I'm saying is lies and it will never happen. We have Elvira, which she's been lesbian for years. I've been a lesbian for a long time myself, Shadzar, but nobody seems to care. Shadow and Sun says, I have that comic too, Janet. Wasn't it Peter Parker comic? Shadow and Sun says that. Shadzar is like, oh, the big titty goth girl's gone woke. Elvira was already lesbian. Everybody suspected that, but she went full woke recently. No. Non woke, attractive women will get babies or bigger diamonds. That's just how it works. And Midnight Suns, he's an anti hero like Deadpool. Carol says she's sick. Yeah, I mean, most of us men are lesbians on the inside. I mean, I don't watch lesbian porn. I mean, that's a waste. Oh, look, it's two women stacked on top of each other. You know what? I have outlets in my apartment that do the same thing. But for them to have some juice in them, you have to put a plug in them. No. Shadow says, I used to hang out with Elvira back in the 80s. She got me into midnight at midnight the movies every weekend, several years for free. Huh. Janet says there's 6 comic book series, The Midnight Suns. Yeah. If anybody here is around the Poconos of Pennsylvania, get a way to message me. That way we can get a care package sent off to our friend Carol, who used to make cookies. Right now she makes coughs. I'm glad that's bronchitis. I hate the idea of you getting pneumonia like what I did. Hot rum toddies. Hot toddy. Laughing sends her into a fit. She's fucking hilarious, so she laughs all the time. Shadow and Sun says, I'm not into porn. It seems kind of weird to me. I'm not into porn either. I'd rather act it out. Marvel movies messed up when they made movies of characters that did not have strong followings. It made it only worse when they made them woke. Yeah. Find porn very boring, Shadow and Sun. It's a detriment. Too many people watch porn on a wide basis. I think the only cookies you'll find on the phones that I've used for Pornhub are the Ultimate Surrender, which is the women beating up each other, and then the dominant bullshit. But it bored me after a while. Even that, it just my imagination, I guess, is too much for it. I don't know. I get better enjoyment by not watching porn. Exactly, Mondo. My son doesn't like Marvel anymore. Everybody's into porn. People just make it without cameras. Yeah, that's the thing. You're better off to use your imagination. You'll get more out of it if you don't use it. Shadzar says, "Who needs porn when you can watch Twitch?" See, I still don't value Twitch though. Again, the Twitch TOS totally kills it for me. Somebody has a fetish for it, I'm sure. Yeah, I would agree with that, Shadzar. There probably is somebody out there that they need it because it's something they frigging can't live without. What boring people they are. No. And then earlier this week, the entire internet wouldn't shut up about Will Smith and Chris Rock. It's like the first time the internet's ever talked about black on black violence. Shadow and Sun says, too many minis to paint to have time for porn, but I do like to paint women with as little clothing as possible. I'm just a Ferengi at heart. Once you buy the product, you get to keep the product until you resell the product. Just slopping paint on here. I just need the paint to get on for the spikes, and I'll do the wood grain later. The Ferengi were fun. No, I've changed some things on my YouTube algorithm, so I don't see everybody's videos so much. I'm sorry, but I don't have my notifications working properly, so I just said fuck it. And so now I have like a lot of mainstream channels that show up in my feed. And when I want to go see somebody's videos, I have to go and hunt them up manually, which is kind of a good thing to do anyway. Don't rely on the notifications and the algorithm to give you what you want. Go hunt for it yourself. So, what I'm telling you is that you have a bunch of mainstream channels which they talked about it, but they didn't know who to be angry for. They don't know if they're going to be angry for Will Smith or they're going to be angry at Chris Rock. The entire situation, though, sets a bad precedent for America because now it's okay for somebody to go up on stage when they're just upset. My wife shot me an angry look, and now I have to go on stage and commit violence. How are you going to have a society with comedians and stage theater? It's not going to be safe for performers, is what I'm getting at. Maybe that's the wrong attitude to have, but I often find myself having the wrong attitude anyway. Shadzar says, don't worry about the algorithm, just control D and bookmark the channel. It sounds pretty reasonable. Okay. Well, they almost have killed comedy. Shadow and Sun, they almost have. They've made people famous for comedy, but when you actually listen to their content, there's nothing funny that they're saying. Amy Schumer is a good example of that, and I know the right will always, and I'm saying the right, but I'm using it in the context where people that are on the right side of politics will use her as a placeholder for modern comedy because it really isn't modern comedy. It's modern bragging about my sexual exploits. Ha ha ha, my vagina. Janet says, sad fact is that by clicking on that kind of crap, it proves that kind of crap wins. Well, you don't watch it. That's the thing. I still lose, and some of us still lose by turning on YouTube instead of turning on Rumble or BitChute or Minds. Which, if some of you have Minds or have Gab, you can just add me by adding in. You can add in your buddy 75. That's one word. Your buddy 75, and you'll find me. That's been my handle for years. Janet wants to know about my magnifying glass. That's what I have. I have a 7-inch diameter magnifying glass. Shadzar's like listing the names of all the people I don't watch. Yeah, but the thing is that it's funny to watch them whenever things happen to the wrong people, because the way they try to spin the narrative, it's comedy. I mean, they're trying to sweep things under the rug. You didn't see this. This wasn't on live TV. This didn't happen. Shadow and Sun. I don't know if you saw the house yesterday, but I've got a lot to work on. Almost done with this guy here. I want to get his eyes done right. I need a better brush than this. Shadow and Sun says it's my point. They don't want us to be happy unless we're drugged up and just totally useless, docile. Insert Frost. Don't like it, don't watch it. Janet, I'm on Minds as your buddy 75. Hold on. Oh, there she is. Hang on. Okay. There we go. Salty Cracker is really one of my favorite channels. He's probably the one person I'm not funding, although I probably should join his channel. I don't think this is Tanis Half-Elven. They don't have a beard on this figure, but he's got like a cowl or something for his cape. Trying to find a brush. And for those of you that like Legion of Myth, they sell mugs. Truth is the new hate speech. Travis, who are you referring to as Pop? P-O-P-P. Who is that? Salty, Pop, Mark Dice, and Crowder, The Morning Ritual. Terrence Pop? Okay. Wow, we all have like the same rotation. I tell you, somebody in the dark that's been he's been hitting Amazon really hard lately is Fatal J. Fatal J has had some really good anti-Amazon pro Lord of the Rings, pro J.R.R. Tolkien stuff. And if you like Fatal J, if you like his material, he's got a really neat comic book called Ninja Flash. I read the PDF. I'm waiting on my physical copy to get here. I think it's lost in the mail, and that's fine. I mean, it sucks, but Travis is going nuts over there with Janet, and she's a looker. She's a beautiful lady, guys. Fatal J is one of our guys from the Dark Council. He hangs out a lot with Drunk 3PO. He put out a indie comic called Ninja Flash, and I read the PDF of it. It hits all the '90s kids nostalgia. Shadzar, I stopped watching OGGM. He started getting angry at me and saying stuff. I'm like, I'm going to let it cool down for a while. I'll wait. I'll go back to him whenever he can like be in the same room as somebody he disagrees with. Yeah, a lot of us are on the same mental wavelength as far as following certain people. Not a bad not a bad thing really. Glad to see chat still discussing things. I'm also kind of curious as to what's going to go on with Georgia and Wisconsin because from the 20 November 20 voting period, it looks like there's more and more discussion that people want to have because there's too many irregularities. When Mike gets mad at you, cuss him out and put him back in his place. He gets mad, that's fine. He's a little bit too. I like middle of the road people, but they have to take a side. Tim Cast is a fence sitter, like Travis says. We have too many people that sat on the fences waiting for things to get better instead of acting up and being kind of rebellious. That's the only thing about the left that I can say in the positive. When the left mobilizes, they're actually doing something. The problem is they're doing something for the wrong team. Like they burned down, whole cities, sort of thing. Shadow and Sun, I'm happy we met now, bud. Really am. Chet Travis doesn't make any content yet. He's just a lurker. Wait till something pisses him off, then he'll start making content. Mike Who is a guy by the name of OGGM Shadow. He's a more left of center guy. He gets really upset when you start like saying right of center things. And that's where him and I really disagree with each other because you can have a forum, but be ready to defend your stance. Be ready to defend the things that fall out of your pie hole. And he doesn't really. He's more of an apologist for bad bad writing in general. Shadzar says he doesn't care for Tim's opinion. He gleams news articles he reads. Okay. He's about ready. Just need to dot the I's. Yeah, it says she always speaks her mind, and if she doesn't get the subs because of it, oh well. Janet, you keep looking that hot though. You're gonna have an army of guys like Travis behind you. Hey, you want to go out for coffee? It's okay, Travis. I have content and I've got my own NSA satellite. Shadow and Sun says, just wait a little longer. The left will eventually grow up, and when they can start to afford property, they will wake up. I'm not betting on that. 2030 is coming. I want to see how the entire market turns into. What will happen? Hello, Sarah. How are you today? For those of you people that don't know who Purple Valkyrie is, she is a fantastic artist and streamer. She does occasional game stuff and will hang out in panels and has her own content as well. Recently had a chance to stream with Purple Valkyrie about 2 weeks ago with her on a channel with Makini, and that was a lot of fun. No, it was last week. It was kind of neat watching somebody do sculpting on a stream once, and I had never done that with Mock. I don't think him and I had ever seen that before. Shadow and Sun, I put her link in the chat. For those of you people that are new to my circle of friends, that seems to be ever growing and shrinking, but most of the time it gets a little larger. I wanted you people to be able to enjoy some of the people that I enjoy. I'm not fast. Purple, we're going to try to get you to 4,000 watch hours, hon. You've been doing this for a while. You've been one of Loki's favorite people for over a year. You've actually been a really good friend of our friend Loki. I gotta talk to Makini about it, but I really want to have an art stream with you and Loki in the same panel with us, because I would love to see the two of you live, not at 8 in the morning when I'm getting information for work and having to sit at the office. Jackie Blue, I do sell. I had a $500 sale or commission about 2 months ago. I painted some figurines for a friend of mine. They were very happy. Oh, I didn't realize you were monetized, Purple Valkyrie. That even makes it easier. Soy-based Jeremy says he could be better. I get it. How's your dog doing today, Jeremy? Oh, thank you, Shadzar. Didn't have to do that. If some of you people want to have commissions done by me, I know my work isn't quote unquote museum quality, and I understand that. It just hit me with the link there, Shadzar. Hold on. It'll pop you up here in just a second. Somebody stole your old phone. Okay. Was it a good phone or was it a phone you don't care about? That's kind of important with this. Jackie, I understand you say you need to work on your collection. I have the same situation here. Shadow's asking me to discuss the materials I like to paint. Right now, I'm doing more Reaper figs, but I have a lot of WizKids on the table. I'm a huge fan of Reaper miniatures, and if you're not a fan of Reaper miniatures, but you like what I do, the link is in the chat. Make sure I have the right link here. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, Jackie, I just put up I put up two brand new shelves in the living room to have the spillover taken care of. ReaperMini.com is the paints and the miniatures I prefer to use. And they just started doing a 6th version of what's they're known as their Bones Kickstarter. I don't know why they call it Bones. Well, maybe I do. They have a character in their miniature lineup called Mr. Bones, and he's a vampire. Should be a lich or a skeleton, but I'm not gonna get too heavy in that. It's improperly named. They have a character named Mr. Bones, and see, I like. I like Reaper Mini because a lot of reasons. One, they're in Texas, where I'm located at. They're not too far from me, only about 4 hours up the road. My parents would say that's too far to drive, but then they drove down from Illinois. Every nook and cranny should have stuff in it, Janet. You're right. The only thing about Reaper that I really don't like is their brushes. I'm not a fan of their brushes. Their brushes will fray after a while, and you have to do that. No, I'm not eating Carolina Reaper. I'm good. I might have a Catalina wine mixer, but I'm not having no Carolina Reaper. I have habaneros. Anyway, Janet says she fills every nook and cranny with things, and I could believe that. I've seen parts of her bedroom before on her videos. She shows off her stuff, and she's got a large amount of geek love. No, none of that. Shadow says Archon Studio, WizKids, and whatever else sparks our interest. You know, I used to buy a lot of WizKids stuff. I still have some of their stuff to paint on here. I'm not saying I won't paint it, but I'm not as enthused as I should be. But I think the WizKids line is it's meant for mass production. And I'd rather paint things like this guy. This is a goblin out of Mantic Games. You have some really great detail on that guy. Whereas with like a WizKids figure, this is one of the better figurines I've seen out of WizKids, but it's still not great on detail. Anyway, I started using the Art House brushes. The brushes I use are Princeton's, and these are about $4 to $6 at the local art store that I have. I do have some Army Painter brushes. Ooh, might be able to get that into, yeah, I can get that into a point. Awesome. All right. Yeah, WizKids does make nice bigger monsters. I'm not going to disagree with that. I don't like their other figs because like this one here, some of the mold lines on it aren't really that good. You have to catch their runs. If you're doing plastic miniatures or any miniatures that are going to be mass produced, you have to catch them at the start. Here's a dragon from WizKids. I haven't even started on this guy yet. I have a lot of Mantic terrain. I have the Arcane Library from Mantic. And I mean, occasionally I'll throw paint on the books there, and that can come out really good. Mantic is really just, when people start talking about Games Workshop, I want to tell them about Mantic figures because Mantic does a better set of monsters than GW. And they have a cheaper cost. They have a tighter engine for their game. It's just nobody plays Mantic. They're not as well advertised. Thank you, Jackie. Reaper medals are fantastic. I started working the red on her cape. I'll do a couple more layers before this one's done. This is a Reaper human archer. Come on, focus. I would actually say go with Reaper for their dragon line. The dragons from Reaper are really decent. For the price, you're not paying a whole lot of money. I have a whole bunch of figs in my to be primed portion, but this is a Reaper fig. Camera. Yeah, I would prefer to be with metal all the time. My wallet says no. But this is a Reaper fig I bought for, I think, $12. Well, if you want big dragons, you're going to be spending some larger money, even with plastic. Just be ready for that. That's all I have to ask. I bought some female ogre figs. The Reaper Bones dragons start to wilt after a while. I haven't had that happen yet, but I don't hit them with direct light either. I bought some Reaper metal figs. I believe that was Cinder that I had in my hand. Has a nice fur pelt on. I have this guy, about 4 different paint jobs for him in plastic. And I got him again for metal, and he came out. I mean, the detail on this guy, my camera's not even picking it all the way up. Now, Nightwatch Games stopped selling Reaper on their shelves. They still do the spec order, which I am happy to spec order. And then, I mean, these are 2 ogre females, and here's a white bones figure. Maybe get some better. There we go. Now you can see it. Now we got it. But I prefer Reaper metals. And yeah, you spend $15 to $20 on a fig, but the quality on these figs is so much above and beyond what you get with plastic. And right now, the only thing that'll compare to that is probably Mantic or the brand new Texas. There's two styles from Reaper that I really like. One is Bones Black, and the other is the USA made, which is a little softer, but it seems to be, just from my casual observations, the Texas make is as detailed as the Bones Black. Yeah, 3D minis are going to come a long way in the next 20 years. Right now, I still have acquaintances that work at Reaper. Reaper is not completely woke. They're about yellow in the green, yellow, red spectrum. They're yellow on the woke scale. I know there's a lot of people that like Reaper that are very vocal on their Discord, and they don't like American freedom. But they're not Reaper employees. The Reaper employees would prefer to have freedom than anything else. Travis, one of these days we will need a forum with you, sir. Keep that in mind. The Texas line that I'm talking about is kind of like the old Heritage, or almost like a plastic version of the P65 line that Reaper did back in 2007. That was a line that Reaper made. Soft metal figs. I've got some of my Vrocs are P65s. But it's about as detailed as Bones Black. I haven't found any real errors on it. There's people that do comparisons on these, and they show you the difference. And you got to really zoom in close on like a on a 8K TV to see a real difference. Reaper is a pretty good company. I like what I've seen, even in their Discord, which is usually filled with people that aren't employees, and they're a little more woke than I prefer. WizKids has lost my business, Shadow and Sun. That's why you start talking about Black Lives Matter, and I start asking questions like, "Do you really like capitalism?" Because if you do, then you don't like Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is not a capitalist friendly society. It's a group of people that want to get rid of the American way of life. They want to get rid of the nuclear family. They feel that it's racist. Shadow and Sun, I wouldn't buy Ralpartha stuff. Ralpartha doesn't have a detail that I want. If for the money that you get charged for Ralpartha, you're better off just buying Mantic. And if you really need dragons, go to Reaper. There's a warehouse somewhere in America or an eBay store where people have their figs. And they're like, I can't get rid of this. And you'll come along with $75 and be like, I'll take 3 off your property. Really? Come here. Come here, big capitalism. Commies can be commies and still like capitalism. Look at China. That's not capitalism. That's cronyism. The exchange of money is not capitalism in and of itself. You have crony capitalism, or cronyism as I call it, because as much as I like the oil field, there's a lot of crony bullshit in there too. The problem with oil is the people that run it. They're willing to concede too much. It's just like these Republicans. They couldn't smear a bagel if you give them the knife and the butter. Damn it.
Stop.
I have a basket in my room for a reason. It's for stuff to be thrown in it. Shush. Enough said. I'll finish up minis I want from them and say adios. Yeah, and that's the problem, is that I'm going to finish up my WizKids figs, but then I'll never go to the store again. Travis hit it on the head there. They love money as long as the right people have it. That's the thing. If you're not the right people, if you don't have the right mentality, if you don't have the ESG score they don't want you. Janet, don't lose hope, hon. I think 17 out of 50 states have signed off on a convention of the states, an Article 5. If we can get 33 states, there's still 16 more states that need to sign off on a convention of the states, so we can have a con basically, and we can go discuss things. Every red state in the union needs to get involved with that. That's where Bruce is at. We're close. We're getting closer. Bernie is an example. He has lots of money. He loves being a communist. Shadow, this is what you need. Yeah, she has that effect on men, Shadow and Sun. Anyway, Actually, women that actually have a pro freedom or liberty mindset have that effect on men more than others. I don't see a lot of men screaming that they want to be Bad Bunny on Twitter or on Twitch's husband. I don't see a lot of that happening. She was the one that was screaming about a year and a half ago, $5 American. Shaddar put the link in chat to a really, really nice piece. So, Echo Base is really blowing up my Discord. Sorry. I don't know if we're going to see a con in the next 5 years. Might be 6 years. The reason I say that is that unless they're able to cheat on a nationwide basis like they did in 2020, I don't see a lot of people losing their positions. I see a lot more people doing that attempt if Trump does get in power, because I could see the left hijacking the Convention of the States. They have nothing to do with the Constitution until they can bend the rules to fit their style of tyranny, and that's what it would be. Yeah, Janet. That's the reason why I say that is that I say that because right now we could use it as a way to get out of the current cheating palooza that's going on. But the problem is that the law is a tool, and if they're able to bend it better and faster and make it more sexy than we are, they're going to win. And that's sadly what politics is nowadays. It's all about sexiness. How sexy is this idea? How sexy is it for you to get paid for your neighbor's work? And they've made that super sexy. More than half the people in America, more than half the individuals in America that have an income are living off of the government, be it through either military service or they're a federal employee. This last week, Jackie Blue, there was a governmental convention with the World Economic Forum, and they were talking about how they are very scared of capitalism. Shadzar, take care, man. Hey, Blaine, how you doing? For those of you that don't know who Blaine is, sorry about that, wrong link. There you go, Kai. And no, Chimerian, I'm not staying up till 3 a.m. Different states show real fraud, but the courts and those in power don't do anything. What's left to do? Well, Travis, there is another step that we have to go through, but a lot of people don't want to do it. You know what it is. Everybody here knows what exactly that is. Other people will disagree with me. That's fine. But we're getting closer and closer to that point where we're going to need to have some sort of situational awareness and action. Hello, how are you today, Kai?
Within reason. Good.
Good deal. I'm going to just give me a moment.
Nah, I'm just slipping on. Don't worry.
I'm wondering why the audio isn't picking you up the way it should. There we go.
I don't know.
Go ahead and speak. Okay, it's going the way it should.
Alrighty.
I have you hardwired to my TV.
Ah.
And the laptop speakers.
Okay. Oh, ain't that fun? So what did I walk in on?
I'm doing a paint stream today, and some people are here, and we've got a good couple handfuls of people have been in and out the door so far, and you wandered in, and like, there's Kai. I offered a spot for a few others to come in and talk.
Hey,
You were the
as
first
long as we're
one
not up to 2, as long as we're not past like 2 in the morning, I'm okay.
We're not doing till 2 in the morning, I promise.
Thank God. I'm sorry for dropping out on Friday like that. I just couldn't get. I was passing out.
Yeah, that's fine, man. Our friend Janet in the chat. You know, the one thing that an attractive woman will never be, thanks to the internet, is lonely. That's all I'm going to say. We're doing just a little bit of talking, and the thing is that we got into politics for a bit. 17 of the states have ratified for a for an Article 5 Convention of States.
I'm waiting for it.
Yeah, I'm waiting for 33 to be hit. If we can do that, that'd be great.
I think it'll be a race between them or the people who want to just bypass the convention. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I worry if we can do it lawfully and legally, like the convention or like the Constitution outlines, it'd be one thing.
Yep.
Half the nation treats it like toilet paper. That's the real problem that I have.
Mm. I can understand
So-
that.
Jackie Blue, that is completely accurate. You have Illinois, where you have a bunch of people that are actually really attractive, but they live in the downstate area, so nobody wants to really get involved with them. You have to stay in your own little enclave or move to, like, Peoria or Springfield.
Peoria is just a colony of Chicago, so
It's not even a good colony.
look, Chicago's not a good town. Look, we have.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, look, when you have corrupt colonial masters, you're going to have a corrupt colonial colony. So
Travis says the only problem with the Convention of States is it opens the door for every crazy idea to get in, and that's
oh yeah, it's going to.
that's the threat.
That's why everyone goes, it's horrible. No,
No.
I want it.
I want to see what happens. I want to see how we would react to a potentially free society. I'd like for everybody to turn off their TV when the talking heads start talking, though.
Yeah.
So, are you doing any sort of gaming this week?
I had a birthday party one shot yesterday, and I got to play it. It was wonderful. I played the most brain dead characters possible, and it was refreshing. I forgot how much fun playing a dumb character can be.
No, millions of Americans do it every day.
Yeah. But no, just turning off my brain, drinking some beer, and enjoying some drinks.
Was it your
and enjoy a game. No, it was a friend's birthday, but his one request was, I want to have someone run a game for me, and I'm like, I'm not doing it. And they're like, somebody else is doing it. Can I be there? Yes, thank you.
Well, I switched my weekends. I believe we're going to be going from every 3 weeks to every 2 weeks.
Okay.
I don't know if it'll match your schedule. Knowing my luck, it'll be like, oh, this is when Blaine has to work. Oh.
Yeah, pretty much. But then again, April is pretty much like entirely full between move, prep, and going to a horror convention. I've got nothing. I got no time this month. And I'm not missing that horror convention for the world. So,
what's the horror con you're going to?
Well, it's not really a horror con. It's going to Indianapolis, and it's the Oddities Expo. Yeah, Oddities and Curiosities. It's coming into Indianapolis in a few weeks. So yeah, but
Well, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but no, it's like it pretty much is just like horror movie memorabilia, freak show stuff, some real just weird things, and I love it. So. Let me see if I can get the link up or something for them. I said it's worth going to go see. For one day, $15 to get in, you're fine. It's a great show.
Sounds kind of fun, actually. Oddities Expo?
Yep. It'll be in Indiana. It was yesterday in Chicago. It'll be Indy in 3 weeks. So It takes about 2.5 hours to go to walk through all the exhibits. It's great. Ooh, new pins this year. All right.
Is that going to be Indiana State?
Yep.
All right.
I got family there, so we're gonna stop by the night before and go see everybody and enjoy a nice little time with everybody because we haven't seen anybody since COVID. So,
See, I think some of the chat here is missing the point. There's this character that Travis knew called Go Ugly Early Ferguson, and he'd go into a place and find the ugliest woman in a bar and go straight for her.
mm-hmm.
And so while everybody else is fighting over the pretty ones, he's already scored, and he'd go back for seconds or reinforcements.
All right.
I want a friend like that. If I was single, I need a grenade jumper like that.
Yeah. Good people to have around.
No, Janet, you stay red. You stay red, and you completely fulfill the check marks that are needed for the guy that's going to be for you. Travis is like that. Ferguson was a great guy. I'm sure he was. Ugh, we need more people like that. Listen, I just want my check marks filled.
Yeah.
Be happy with what you got. Won't have problems.
Nope.
Besides, we have enough blondes right now. Give it about 20 years and you'll see more people going for the blonde highlights, the blonde. There's less and less blondes as time goes on.
Yeah, they're all bottle blondes anyway, so.
Exactly. So, are you going to see this Morbius movie or no, Kai?
Probably gonna skip it. I'll wait until it arrives for free on streaming service. So yeah, it'll be on Disney Plus in about three days. So I don't care.
You have Disney Plus. God damn it.
No, I don't pay for Disney Plus. Somebody else pays it, and I share an account.
Fair enough. I used to do that with Amazon. Then Amazon revealed their plans for the Lord of the Rings stuff, and I'm like, I'm done.
No, it's that little circle of friends that everyone has. That one person pays for one, and everyone just trade accounts, and then you have this little conglomerate, this little alliance of people who are going, we cut the cord, and for $15 we get 8 streaming services. This is good.
Netflix is going after those people now, and I think the other services are probably going to follow, which I really hope does not happen.
I hope not, but you know what? It was inevitably going to happen, and I'm not too worried about it.
No, I wish I could say I was interested in Morbius, but I heard somebody say it's the best made-for-TV movie edited version of a vampire film you could watch. And when I heard that, I'm like, oh God, really? And then a friend of mine shared with me a link, and I saw part of the movie, and it's not edgy enough to be a vampire movie. The best movie I've seen for vampires is still, even though I saw it recently, it's still After Dark by James Cameron's old ex-wife.
I can believe that one.
Well, you got the guy from Aliens as one of the best bad guys in all of movie history, and I can't remember his name. Save my ass. Bill Paxton.
Paxton?
Yeah,
Maybe?
Bill Paxton. He's in that movie, and he just sells it. He he is that guy that he is like living his best life as a vampire. He's enjoying every minute, ripping out every innocent throat, scaring the hell out of people, and being a general dickhead. He loves his life. So if you haven't seen Near Dark, I'll tell you what you get with After Dark. You get the divorce from James Cameron because it's his ex-wife, and she took half the movie cast from Aliens.
Yes.
He took Lance Hendrickson, Janet, the lady who plays Vasquez, Bill Paxton, Lance Hendrickson, and you have this really good story of this guy that gets to ride along a day in the life in these vampires that are just absolute rogues of society. And it's got one of the best endings I've seen for a vampire film too, where just people explode. It looks like somebody spent their money on that final 5 minutes. Not like some other crappy vampire films like 30 Days of Night, which is just boring. It's an actual good vampire film. I think I'm going to buy it for my dad. That's how I know I like it, because I'm like, has my dad seen this yet? No, he hasn't. Because if he had seen that, he would have been talking about it. He'd been talking about that with everybody.
That's a good standard, honestly, for a movie. But
Well,
yeah,
Well, no,
I was gonna say that with my family, it's just that we're all weird B movie we love bottom shelf movies. So if it's weird, we're gonna go see it. But if it looks boring, we're not gonna touch it.
there's some really quality movies out of the 80s that nobody has seen in like 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
And worse yet, the advent of the streaming service has broomed out almost a whole generation of B movies.
I know, but they're there still. And boy, when people find them and they're like, "Have you seen this?" Oh yeah, I've seen that.
But I had Shudder, which is the horror streaming service.
Yep.
And I was really disappointed with the selections on it because I had to wait and email, and for them to get Mandy, I had to wait like 3 or 4 months. And Mandy is a movie with Nicolas Cage, and if you haven't seen, it's probably the better of the Nicolas Cage goes nuts movies, where that's like Bruce Willis was playing a bunch of really bad cop movies for the past 10 years, and they would go straight to streaming services.
Oh yeah.
Sorry for Bruce Willis. I'm sorry that he is retiring. I'm sorry he had the injury from Die Hard. Nobody's saying congrats on a great career. For 30 years you gave us amazing and fun movies. Nobody's saying that. I wish they would say that more, but he's retiring now, and that sucks. But I can see why. And the movie roles he was given were bottom shelf, and they were horrible.
Yep.
Did you see The Game?
Yes.
Okay, I hated that movie. The Game with Bruce Willis.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't stand that one. And
don't blame you.
It was just a sad movie, I thought. And everything makes sense after Red Letter Media highlighted it. It's really sad that like that was what spurned his retirement, because everybody started talking about it. It was an open secret. So now he's exiting, and I wish he'd exited gracefully before, but hopefully he has enough money for all the medical stuff he needs, and he doesn't need to worry about things. Janet says Morbius isn't a regular vampire. He's genetically changed and never died, so he's a living vampire. Okay.
Yeah, he's a byproduct of those weird rules that comic books have to have.
So he's more like a Blade vampire.
Well, he's part of that era where again you couldn't have the undead or any other things. So he's a living vampire. A what? Yeah, I know, right? And you just go, yeah, that was comic books of an era. That's what's going to happen.
Bruce Willis got the shot that did him in. The head injury is just a story. Ooh, if that's the case, that's really bad. Shadow says, "Son and I are purebloods. So am I." He can, Morpheus can go into the sun. Blade cannot. Blade is a damn peer. Now, there was a movie put out with Neil McDonough, I guess, about 2 years ago. And it's kind of sci-fi, but it's about Bruce Willis outwitting a bunch of people. And they recently did a Red Letter Media highlight on it. And that was what started this entire conversation. Up until about a month ago, nobody knew about Bruce Willis having these injuries. And we just saw a new movie come out on Amazon every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
He did have an amazing run of bad movies. I will say that. But
I just assumed that it was because he was like Nicolas Cage and broke, and I need money. I'm going to go do me some bad movies, and
see, there's a really bad movie that Nick Cage was in where they were at a Showbiz Pizza.
I don't know that one. I need to find this one now because it sounds terrible.
Hold on. I mean, he did do Pig, and Pig is supposed to be really good. Willy's Wonderland.
This sounds magical already.
Uh-oh.
What?
I'll find the trailer. Because the trailer is the best the movie gets.
That one I can also believe. But I like my movie trash, so.
Hey, Janet, you have a good dinner, and we'll talk to you soon, hon.
Take care.
I like having her around. She's a heck of a person. She has a lot of funny takes on TikTok and everything too.
Hey, you know what? That's cool.
Let me turn that down. I don't want to get nailed by the sponsors, by the people.
Wonderland, I will pay to have your car fixed.
He gets into a wreck.
You are officially on staff. Let's get the hell out of here. I can't stand to hear a grown man scream.
This place has a dark history. I know the bullshit story they told you. It's a lie. You're here to be a human sacrifice.
This is bad.
What I've been saying? He's gonna die in here, but he won't listen to me.
Oh my God. Okay, so, all right.
She's got out. Nobody's safe. Dogs on Evan. We're going to Willie's.
He's not trapped in here with them. We're trapped in here with him.
It's birthday time. I'm sure, man, a few words.
Yeah, that was on demand, and Prehistoric Planet was one of those movies they advertised with it. So it looks like it's in really bad shape. And then I saw it, and it was bad. Hey Bone, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I had to go tell a few people who are in my shitty movie club that you gotta watch this thing. Because there's a movie that we watched that was, I have to say, is horrible, and I loved every moment of it. It's literally called Crabs. That's all it is, just crabs. And it is a pot fever dream, but it's like 3 shitty movies thrown into one, and it gets worse. The first half of the movie is only an hour and a half, so the first 45 minutes of the movie, you're just sitting there going, when's this going to get good? And then it turns into, what the fuck am I watching? And then it keeps on going. And you're like, well, shit. Just wherever this is going, I want to see this go. And it keeps getting worse and worse. And then you're just laughing for the last 20 minutes of it because it's just that dumb. I loved every moment of it.
That's basically how I felt about Mandy the first time I watched it. Have you seen Mandy?
No.
Oh, he's got it's like somebody took a lot of acid and then made a very homicidal Nick Cage movie. And it is actually really good. Watch that by yourself. Just know the first hour is hard to get through. It's very, very different. And after that hour mark, or after the transition from the second act into the third, it is a downhill on a alpine coaster without a brake.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know if you're familiar with alpine coasters or not.
Oh, I am. I want to
Okay.
find one day, but yes.
Yeah, living in Latham or living in Illinois, period, you can't really enjoy things like that.
No.
Sad. All right, this didn't work out the way I wanted it to. From Dusk Till Dawn, yeah, it From Dusk Till Dawn starts off pretty rocky too, and that was in '95. I was not expecting that movie to be as enjoyable as it was. I'll just say that. Kind of ruined this figure. I thought this contrast paint would illuminate some things like some of the washes I have did, but I'll live with it. So, yeah, I want to kind of talk about you. What do you think Paizo is going to do with 5e? Are they going to convert their entire line over to 5e?
No, I think it's
their entire AP. But
I honestly just think it's just going to be adventure modules because, well, it's all I need to show. Also, that would be the least amount of work, and it is one thing I've just come to expect from everybody who it works in an industry right now is least amount of work gets you the most amount of money. So obviously changing a few things so that way it fits 5e is legitimately no effort, all the reward. Go for it. Like everyone who plays Pathfinder already bought it all. So we're not really selling anything? So let's go look at this big untapped market of people who will just suck down any adventure module. Go.
Well, yeah, and that's the majority of 5e buyers right now. I mean, they bought Strixhaven.
Yeah.
They bought the worst Harry Potter ripoff they could have imagined. And so
Now,
the bean counters would be like, oh my God, this is an untapped market. Let's go for 5e.
Right. So in short, why not do so? And just get the money. I mean, especially if you know it's going to be on fire. Especially when you're looking at a sinking ship, it's like do you throw them life preservers or do you sell them life preservers? You sell them.
I think we'd sell them life preservers.
Right.
Because there'd be no need to build another boat for life preservers to be a part of. Just here you go. You're going to play this garbage system. Here's some adventure modules that will be guaranteed to be interesting. And if Paizo does the unthinkable, which is retool the adventure to properly mirror a good and optimized campaign or adventure that would be challenging, like, and when I say that, I mean, like, they're taking the rules from all the 5e sources. Okay, so we got Tasha's, we're using all the Strixhaven nonsense and bullshit. We're going to make a bunch of tiefling bards.
Yeah. And at this point, you might as well. I mean, keep working on your own thing. And because that was the one thing I really enjoyed. What back when shoot. I'm sorry, it's been a long weekend. My brain's not firing on all cylinders.
It's all right. We enjoyed Pathfinder stuff or Paizo stuff back when 3.5 was going on.
Right. And also, yeah.
Well, they did their adventure path right at the end of the 3.5 era, and they had already announced that they were going to do 4th edition. So they had 2 years to beta test their system, and then at the end of the 2 years in 09, we had Pathfinder.
Yeah. I said, they've done it before. I'm not shocked at this. And I kind of want it to see, just so that way, because that was one that I had a fun time for a bit there when the people who did Legend of the Five Rings 1st, 2nd edition, they did for a while that dual their engine D20 engine stuff because WotC owned them for a while. I owned the card game for a while, so they put out that shitty Oriental Adventures edition module, and then suddenly I was able to go, hey, you like that stuff? Yeah, it's really good. You want to see who did it first and did it better? Yeah. And then I had an L5R group for a while again because I converted a bunch. Like I just was like, here's here's their books, here's everything that it came from, and then they all went, wow, this is actually really well done. Yeah, you want to play that for a while? Yeah. And then suddenly we had an L5R campaign going because somebody went, Oriental Adventures is nice. Man, this is way better than the usual shit. Yeah, because it was stolen. And yeah, just bait and switch those little bastards and, had a good time with it. And so, honestly, that's why I'm like convinced of, do it. Fuck it. I use them.
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the 3.0, 3.5 era. And I'm not trying to relive the early 2000s because that was not an easy time for me to live through. Personally, it was my worst time of my life because I was working at Walmart, barely making rent, barely able to afford meat or beer.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a very stressful time in my life. I was going through hell. And gaming industry was making great money. And here I am in Deer Creek, able to barely eke an existence. And I met you and had Garrett at the table, had Mike and Connell. The 3 of those guys were at the same table together for a while. And that was like the only good thing going on in my life, but I couldn't find good work. Now I've got good work and my life is balancing out quite a few ways. I'm happy about it. But I'm seeing on the horizon there's another problem ahead, and most of our chat's been talking about it this entire time we've had this video streaming today.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Hopefully the worst doesn't come to pass. I think everybody here knows where they stand on things, and the problems aren't really with us or with our community. It's with the wider world in general. They're willing to concede too many things. They're willing to not worry about problems. And I'd like to see people practice with their firearms more. I'd like to see more people learn how to shoot, learn how to clean their guns, because I think there's going to be necessary skills here more than anything else. Not because you're going to be using it, but the more people that practice with these things, the more that other people realize maybe now is not the time to be fascists and tyrants. Maybe now is not the time to do that.
Yeah. I would like that very much.
Travis, if it happens like that, it happens like that. The thing is that there's going to be, we have the potential to make more kids now than what we did before. The advances in medicine up until 2020, 2019 were for the most part very beneficial for us in the Western world. Then they released the virus, or it escaped, however you want to look at it. now we have that's a wild card in play. I think maybe by 2025, most everybody will have some exposure to it, and it won't be nearly the threat that it was. I mean, after the first 6 years, Spanish flu wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
If they do it now, they're going to be hurting. If they do it in the future, wait. Shadow and Sun says the ammo is so hard to come by. We have a gun show next weekend. We have a lot of ammo where I live. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but the abundance of ammo here. If you go into a store and say, I need a pallet by this day, or I need a half pallet by this day, you're going to have it, and they're expecting their money. If they don't have it, they're going to have an abundance of it, and they just have to make a single Facebook post or a single post to their people or text message. Come in now.
All the ammo you can want.
Yeah. And hopefully there's not a bunch of Fed boys there trying to buy up for their own arms locker. But
yeah, you got to run the risk anymore with Fed boys. So
yeah. Shadow's like, I have to tie my son down to keep him out of the fight. Well, your kid's got the right mentality. The only problem is that there's only one of him. That's the thing.
you just got to go and find more people like him. That's all.
Yeah, we need about 70,000 people like him. Need about another 2K in ammo and another helmet. I need to get over to the range soon. I need to break in my shotgun. I don't have 1,000 rounds through it yet.
I'm in Illinois, so it's impossible to get one. So
Shouldn't be.
I know.
It really should not be.
I know, but it is.
See, I don't have the plate carrier yet. I've got an option for a ceramic one if I want it, and I'm really not thinking I want ceramic. I do like the idea of having one.
Better to have it and not use it.
Yes. He practices with his BB gun every day. That sounds like me when I was in high school. I got really good with that little pump action. We have a Daisy 760. 760 feet a second is what it would spit out a pellet. And I was able to start bullseyeing the sparrows in the yard. The cats started hanging out in our yard more often. Right now, the shoddy I have is it's just a cheap ass Chinese make one, JTS MK12AK. It's a 12 gauge built on the AK platform. The 5-round clip is stock, but Saiga makes a 10-round magazine. 10-round, 5-round magazine. But they have a 10-round optional little banana magazine for that thing, and it's really nice. It will hurt your shoulder, but it will do the job.
Yeah, Bruce is the price you pay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a 12 gauge. There's not a 12 gauge out there that feels like, a shoulder rub. Those don't exist.
No.
So we have 5th edition getting all the Paizo. If they got all the Paizo adventure paths, if they just converted their current line of APs and adventures to 5e,
Mm-hmm.
that would extend the entire 5e.
Huh. Okay.
Tavor T12. Okay. Yeah, the Saga shotgun looks good. 15 round semi-auto.
They're
Yeah,
fun.
now I understand, Travis. You don't notice a kick. When things are going on, you don't notice a kick. I'm a Navy veteran, which means that we didn't see a lot of action on the ground. I'll say that adrenaline in the Navy is different. Usually you're fighting a fire when you have adrenaline going in the Navy.
Yeah, siren I don't want to hear. That's all.
Now, your current group, you swap out players every semester then.
With all actual honesty, it's actually more like we lose players about every 2 semesters. About once a year, we lose players and we gain new players. So, but no player ever really lasts longer than 3 years because the club's open to sophomores and carries on through seniors. And most seniors, after they graduate, go, I'm not hanging around the high school anymore, even though we offer the option for alumni to be able to come in and continue to run with it. But most of them go, after my senior year, they go off into the real wide world and go, wow, this is really amazing. And I'm like, yeah, I've been trying to prepare you for it for the last 2 years. So yeah, it's amazing. Go experience it. It's way better than you think it is. Go enjoy it. And then they disappear. And I'm like, good. I hopefully gave you a good push in the right direction. And then I look at the new guys going, hi there. Welcome to a new, you're new. Welcome to the club. And I look forward to every September when I see the fresh kids come walking in the door going, hey, we're here for the role-playing game club. And I'm like, wonderful, wonderful. And then watch the old players go, oh, shoot, here it comes. And
That would be interesting to be able to have a game last longer than 3 years.
that's
You
why
do- Go
that's
ahead.
why honestly I do the cyclic generational campaigns, is because of the fact that when the majority of one generation leaves, well, it's time to let those guys off and go and bring the new kids into it and let them have their generation of being the new heroes. And so that's why I have like time jumps that are of 30, 40, 50 years, and why I have endless, you're always walking in the footsteps of somebody who came before you, because, well, that's the environment I run in. Is I want the kids to have fun. I want them to have a new experience. I want the world to be there, and I want them to know that they're leaving an imprint in the world as it goes forward. And it's fun watching an alumni poke his head in and go, hey, is this still going on? Yeah, you're still a bastard you were, though. Did I die? Yeah, someone shot you. I deserved it. And then he walks off. And that's fun. And so, yeah, I do change my players out a lot faster than most groups are. Not because I want to, but because that's just life. Life pulls them away. And watching them go off, and a few of them stick around, for their freshman year of college, and then that first year they're around, then they're gone, and you're like, that was nice, you hung around and helped new players out, but you're gonna leave, and I know you're gonna leave, and then it gets back to just being me and my partner in crime, and we just keep running things. It just keeps chugging forward.
So when you do that, how often do you really rotate your generations? They start about 3 or 4 level,
Yeah.
or you start them at first?
Oh, I've posted in my in the private chat my theory about that. So I might start them at first, but most of the time, because we usually at the start of a school year, we only have like 1 to 2 people who are brand new, and everybody else the one thing I forget, that most of us forget, is that a lot of these students are all talking to each other during the school day and on weekends. So they're all chit-chatting with themselves and comparing notes, telling stories to themselves, or running over details. And so I walk in, they've had an entire week to prepare and talk to each other, and they come in thinking about this stuff. So I'm like, if they look like they need that first, second level boot, kick to the head, yeah, first, second level, no problem. But most of the time, most of them seem to have a good, like, there's that little, so how well do you know the rules? And they go, I've got a decent grasp, and I'll be like, all right, it won't be first level, but second and third. That way you guys can learn each other, but you're still in the learning phases, but you're still fitting in the entire world's actually pretty veteran. You're fitting in mentality. So but you also got to remember, I don't run the D&D world that everybody else runs, which is like, oh, everybody's a first level commoner. I'm like, no, there's like people who are 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. There's plenty of these people. Like, there are higher people who put some effort in, and they're everywhere. You're in a town of 10,000 people. There's a couple hundred people who can probably kick your butt. You just won't know them because nobody's advertising. But they're all going through their life too, and everybody's got challenges. Everybody's doing something. Nobody lives a stress-free life, especially in a medieval world, or even any kind of world where there's actual stressors out there. Look through the book and you see, oh, there's skill challenges out there, and those give you XP for being challenged. Well, hell, if you got 1 challenge a month in a year, you've got a level. From first level, dude, like if you got a manager who's going to push you a little bit and you're smart, you're going to gain a level. If you're lazy, congratulations, you don't do anything. But if you're anything competent, like you go through any apprenticeship program, you're going to be up there. You're going to be like, I'm looking for a 3rd level character. There's plenty of those. Why? There's plenty of people out there who actually work hard. They keep their nose down. They grind, to the grindstone. They're working, but yeah, they're out there. You just got to look for them. And players are like, okay. And when you start to push this idea that there are a lot of people who are competent out there in the world, and they may not be in the specialization that you want, but there's a lot of competent people out there. And that, or you might just have that, or to reinforce the idea that that guy who was a nuclear reactor technician, who's a wizard, yeah, he didn't get a job as a wizard. Sorry, the court wizard job was filled. And nobody needs another apothecary. So yeah, he's a bookbinder now. Wait, so a 5th level wizard's a bookbinder? Yeah, it's the only job that was available. He needed to pay the bills. Well, shouldn't he be on adventuring? There's not like a whole list of dungeons available at all times. And this isn't like an MMO where you just wait 30 minutes for the dungeon to respawn so you can earn more money. Nah, you gotta make some cash. You gotta live. Rent needs to be paid. Clothes need to be repaired. So yeah, that high level wizard, or that fighter who just retired and he's actually living off of his he's a bartender. Why? Because look, I've been like working in automotive now. I see enough people who are like, what did you used to do? Oh yeah, some extremely complex job. And like, what do you do now? Bartender. Why? Because I want to serve drinks. I want to hang out with friends, serve drinks, and people pay me to do. I pay for my drinks. Okay. And this job is my side job. This is what I do during daytime before I open the shop. Fantastic.
It
And
sounds like a really good situation.
yeah, I know more than a few guys who are just couriers in the daytime who work from 8 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon, and then they go home, change their clothes, and go and then go open their bar and iron for the night, and that's it. That's all they do, and they're living off pensions or like. And you think about how much money an average adventurer pulls in. When you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, like, well, like you've made 25,000 gold pieces. Well, shit, if I spend only 100 gold pieces a month, I can live off this forever. I'm gonna go open me a bar, and now you got an eighth level scarred up barbarian who's just sitting here going, "That's a cool story, bro." And you're like, "Yeah, I could." And you get that one drunk guy, "I could punch you out," and then he's like, "No, you can't." And because I run into these people in real life, I'm like going, I run into way too many people who are way, way more amazing than what all of us just attribute to the world. And like just listening to people talk, and you're like, holy shit, what the fuck did you do in your life? But then turn around and have people look at me and go, what the fuck did you do in your life? I go, I've been through some shit. And I have people go, they've been through some shit too. And like, so you're actually doing a world a disjustice if you're just letting everybody just go off on, no, everybody's all dumb and you're heroes. I'm like, no, you're the people who just have the energy and will to still actually do something. Most people just go, I've made it pretty far. Fuck this. I'm done. I'm gonna go find me a nice, easy job. And that guy who's just driving the medical scooter from one end of the hospital to the other side, so people don't have to walk the whole hospital. You're like, what did you used to do? Oh yeah, I did X, horrifying thing. And you're like, I can see why you're doing this now. I goes, yep, nobody's trying to stab me anymore. And he's just sitting there driving, and you're like, when do you get off work? It's like, listen to you talk about your life. And he goes, I'll be on work another 8 hours. You want to wait that long? Not really. All right. And but that might be why I run things a little bit different than everybody else. So
I think you have a very solid active thought process when it comes to running a game. And being that the game's been a thing for 40 years and your campaign world has gone through who knows how many fictional years of activity or play.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's lived in, which is not how it feels like whenever you're reading through like Forgotten Realms. We've owned this farm for over 75 years. And just yesterday, my grandpappy found this ankeg hole, and he went down there. We haven't seen him since. I want to pay you 300 silver to go find my grandpappy. You're like, well, wait, 300 silver won't even pay for the sharpening of my magical sword. And
I know.
It doesn't even feel right whenever you have people talk about their campaigns. It just doesn't, because they have too much newness in it. Like magic is brand new, or this is just like your medieval Europe, but with magic. Like, no, doesn't quite feel right.
And the thing is that even in some of these settings where it's like, oh, it's been, okay, yeah, I like dealing with history a lot. But there's one thing that me and this other guy that I hang out with he's working on his doctorate in history. We laugh at the idea that, oh, hey, look, you're playing Forgotten Realms, and 25,000 years ago was the height of the first magical empire, and you're like, and we're sitting here looking at some map he salvaged from a dumpster when a school is being torn down, going that has like the first ancient empires of about 10,000 years ago, and it's like, okay, so you're telling me that 25,000 years ago they had flying castles and everybody was wearing plate armor and long swords, but so somehow they managed to get, so there's still probably about 4,000 to 5,000 years of history before that, and everyone's still ignorant as hell, and magic is still this unknown, unknowable thing that nobody has ever studied. Meanwhile, in the real world, you just have some crazy guy sitting in a basement goes, I wonder what lightning is. And then, electricity happens shortly thereafter. Nobody studied it. So you're telling me in 25,000 years, it's the first magical empire, and the disappearance of the grand desert city under an ocean that now you can now see its spinnerets sticking still thousands of years later above the water as you sail over a dead city, that nobody has ever decided to question why a sorcerer who has the arcane version of heal is the same as the divine version, which is the same as the druidic the nature version or the occult version. No one's ever thought to sit down and create a unified magical theory, ever. No, never. No, never happened, never done. And everyone goes, well, yeah, a bunch of weirdo wizards all sit there and go and guard their little scrolls in a tower. And you're like, yeah, no, somebody, somewhere, someone's going to do this. Well, they're the ones who create the magical empires. Then it blows up and everyone's now scared and nobody wants to actually deal with that. And I'm like, and so all the ignorance in Dark Ages, I'm like, the Dark Ages weren't as dark as you thought they were. Shut up. This is fantasy. It's not that bad. No, Conan the Barbarian said it's bad. So you listen. So some guy in the 1930s wrote a book, and you're that hardcore on it. Well, Tolkien wrote a book too. He did, and it was a good book. And so was the Conan the Barbarian books. Those were also good, and so were the Solomon Kane books. Those were also good. But there is a bigger universe out there. You can read more books. Yeah, heresy. And that's all I ever hear in my head whenever I hear these people talk is the moment you go, there's more to the world out there. And then all I hear is just that screech of a 40K Inquisitor going, that's heresy. Don't you dare ever say that shit out loud. And I can't stand that. And I'm just like, whatever.
That's the thing. There's a lot of fantasy authors out there that, like, when was the last time you heard somebody talk about Waros? There's a world for those guys, but they're basically halflings. And I forgot who the fantasy author was that wrote about them, but it was like a 70s or 80s fantasy author. So nobody that the current crop of fantasy readers would be talking about nowadays.
Yeah.
Me and a friend of mine discovered them years ago. Dang it. Back in 94, I got on board this ship, the USS Defender, and they had that in the ship's library. They had 3 of those books, or 2 of those books at least. And I remember there was a third one they were talking about, but I never read it. Read the first 2. It was pretty good, but it's about halfling warriors.
Yeah, but you listen to some people talk, it's almost heresy, the idea of, well, that's not what I'm like, and it's like that's against the spirit of this one writer, this one author, and this one thing. And I'm like, have you read any of the modern fiction out there? I know that on Thursdays we have a good chunk of of the Harry Dresden fans out there, but I'm like. But I also want to go the urban fantasy, the modern fantasy writer collection these days that's running around is actually really exciting. Really, there's a lot of really good ideas out there that could, like, And it's like, well, it's changing what was written, like, yeah, but what was written in the 70s, that's the core of what the genre, quote unquote, really is really just this thing that it was based off of writings from the 60s and 70s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. It was based on Pulp Fiction. But new Pulp Fiction has been written since the 80s. It's nice. And they're new takes on gods, new takes on magic, new takes on the supernatural, new takes on how different races operate. I mean, there's so many ways that you can run different things and keep stories interesting and still keep the general feeling of sword and sword, shield, and magic helmet running around with a guy with wiggle figures in the background blasting stuff. And there's a lot of fun ways to do this that can keep your stories exciting, but we're just trapped in this is popular writer. This was a popular book that everyone reads. This is how it's going to have to be. And I'm like, there's so many good writers out there, and they're all writing interesting worlds that I don't want to say run that world. No, that book is that world, but steal everything that's not nailed down, and then pry up the parts that are nailed down, and run with it. Have a good time with it. And it's like, I know I get very, very, like, I get angry over changing, canon. But the thing is that, okay, so I won't run a world that's, it's set in Space Battleship Yamato. Why? Because that's one of my favorite sci-fi universes. And I'd be angry if they changed something critical to that setting. But if I'm going to run a generic sci-fi game, and I'm going to go, but I really like the wave motion engine, and I'm going to rip that out and go put it somewhere else and go, yeah, this is an entire sci-fi series setting that uses this the wave function of the universe as a propulsion drive, and that's how everything works, and that's where the ultimate death weapon comes from. And they go, isn't that Space Battleship Yamato? I'm like, yes and no, but I've also stolen from this and this and this and this and this, and I mix it together, and now I'm telling my own interesting story. But we're using the rules from this game engine. Why? Because the book's published. And here's the changes that will make it so that way it works. And everyone goes, well, I think you do. Like, we'll give it a shot. I'm like, if it's a shitty game I'm running for you, you know what? We can always play something else. And they're like, and they'll sit through it. Why? Because it's a story. It's a good story, and they're in for the ride. I'm giving them a ride, and that's what matters most. Is the story engaging? Is the game engaging? Are they enjoying the fact that they're out there, being big damn heroes or big damn villains? Because players, I mean, sometimes you gotta feed that dark evil side and go, yeah, you might be evil every once in a while, because sometimes inside that day it goes, fuck civilization. It's terrible. Why am I perpetuating this horrible machine? I don't know. Why are you? And yeah, I could be a hero of your story. And suddenly, now they're the villains, and it's beautiful. It's wonderful to go, so what do you do with actual power? And then watch people burn themselves or succeed. Either way. I'm saving the world from a horrible plague by burning down civilization. Yes, but it's worth it. Like, everyone's going to stop you. You know that. It's a small price to pay. All right. I'm game. Show me what you got.
The Mythgar series is what I was talking about. I don't know if you've heard of Dennis McKiernan. I know you've heard of him before. I know you were there when or you should have been there when Dave Sireen was talking about it. Baron G-Rock probably just had a tear crawl out of his eye.
You just mentioned him. You mentioned one of the best people in the world. Yes.
Yeah, Dave Sireen, and he was a big fan of Dennis McKiernan and Moorcock and all that, and he talked quite highly of this. And there was a series of books that he wrote that was supposed to be a sequel to The Lord of the Rings, but when he found out that what he was doing was kind of wrong, he filed off all the bits of Middle Earth and wrote Mythgar instead, and not halflings or hobbits or boros. And it's a really good series of books, the Iron Tower trilogy, and there was even some RPG books written about it. But it's fantasy written in the 80s, like 82, 83, 84 era. And so I'm surprised I just kind of keyed it in, and while you were going on your rant about that, and I'm very happy to have you in the panel to do such, because I know afterwards you're like, you provide me the time to research and figure out who was I talking about. Dana Don McKiernan. And I like that. No, people don't wander off with you. People typically come in when you're ranting. It's like when Max rants on Legion of Myth. Oh, he's ranting again, and it gets twittered everywhere. But it's funny because McKiernan had a really good series of novels, and he wrote like everything from crime fiction to like fantasy, high fantasy, and it was a good, solid book series. It was actually better than Michael Moorcock, I thought, but that's just me.
Right.
And I don't mind Michael Moorcock. I think he's a higher level of literary reading required than, say, J.R.R. Tolkien.
Right.
You really have to like fantasy to read more Moorcock. You read a couple books of it and you're like, oh, it's about an anti-hero. Well, if you read all the Elric novels, you've got like the complete story from when a boy becomes a hero, becomes a man, becomes an anti-hero, becomes bitter and dies. It's you get the whole cycle of life there.
Yeah. That's nice.
A lot of people don't want to read that. They don't want to read the hard bits.
The hard bits, though, are the important parts. The hard bits are really what makes life life.
Yeah.
And sometimes life is listening to some guy, I sing a damn song because, fuck it, that's what's happening at that moment. That's life.
Still having gun chat in the chat, so if you guys like guns, get involved.
I love my guns, but I just don't have any.
Get that fixed. We need to get you out of the land of poverty.
Yeah, I know.
Connell seems to be momentarily in Illinois too. I don't know how long that's going to last. We got to find him a big red-haired girl in Texas. I think that'd be his. Well, my time has come. Yeah, you wouldn't move here when jobs are good, but when you got a hard dick, yeah, come on down. That's usually what men move for. They don't move for like, oh, I've got a good job over here. No. If there's a woman in the middle of Chicago and your only option is being a cart pusher at Walmart, you're going for that 312 area code now, aren't you? Yeah, we got to get either be fixed in Illinois where you can have your purchasing power validated, or we get it to where you guys can like
leave. Yeah. I gotta wait for Carmen to be up for it. So
she's gonna drag her feet on that.
She is, and in about 3 weeks, it'll be my first time to take her out of state in a while. So she'll have a chance to actually see what the rest of the world's like. So
I don't want to dox you, but I do want to ask, where are you going for your romanticism? Are you going to like Branson or are you?
No, we're just going out to there's a little place that out in the middle of nowhere in Indiana. It's got a nice little like on a lake out in Monticello. It's beautiful.
Ah, I know where that is. Like Holiday World.
Yeah, out near Indiana Beach.
Yeah. I believe there's a roller coaster in that vicinity called the Voyage.
Yes.
Have you been on it?
Yes.
Okay, take her on it.
Uh-huh. We'll be in the area for it. It's a nice little area. Got family out there, so we're gonna visit them, go see a bunch of things out in that direction, and then hit the horror. I hit the horror show the next day after. So
That sounds like fun.
yeah,
See, I've never been on the voyage, but everything I've seen, thankfully, the miracle of YouTube allows people to videotape their POV while they're riding on these things. And the voyage compares really well to the Beast.
yes,
I don't know if you're familiar with the Beast.
I know the Beast.
Okay. Yeah.
Kings
Yeah.
Island will probably be in a year or so. So
Okay. Well, I'm happy that your job has got you in a position to where you can plan things like this.
yeah. Well, I'm actually planning on. I'm gonna actually leave the country if my budget holds out. In 5 years, I'll be able to leave the country for a week trip. So yeah, we're gonna go actually somewhere overseas for a week. I don't know where yet, but we're gonna go.
Part of me is like, but what part of what nation is more free than America? And there's a lot of places that are free, but like more free. I don't know.
The main goal is that the main itinerary goal that was being proposed was travel the Rhine from the source to the to the coast. That's where that was the main goal.
Yeah.
And go look at all the castles and pretty scenery because that sounds nice.
If you can get to Ireland, that'd be good.
Yes, that would be good too.
Scotland has Edinburgh, and that's not too bad. We had a day trip from the River Tyne, from Newcastle on the River Tyne, up there and back. That was good. That we didn't even cover like a quarter of the castle. It was huge. Edinburgh's freaking huge. It's awesome. But that was fun. Things have changed since '95. I understand that.
Yeah.
I don't think the time. I think the time for the world to shed its grip of the tyrants is fast approaching. Because I think once people start seeing all the lockdowns and all the ESG and all that crap it causes, I think that's going to be when the real violence happens. It's not going to be, it's not going to be pretty either because a lot of the world's already disarmed. So you're going to see like an Okinawan style revolt where people are using peasant tools on guardsmen, and then they're going to have real weapons in their hands after that.
Yeah.
I know it sounds kind of scary, but this isn't for kids.
I know. I'm kind of waiting. I'm not excited for it, but I'm kind of waiting for it. So it's that weird depression of going, it's coming, and you're just kind of sitting back and going, yeah. I want to stop. Like, do you want to stop it? Maybe.
Like, I don't want to stop the fight in the Ukraine right now. In fact, I'm going to be completely against the popular opinion right now, and I'm going to say that I like what Putin's doing because the targets he's softened up so far, and I know there's been a lot of people killed by his actions, but there's a lot of really upset people in Washington, D.C. because they invested in morally questionable, and that's the best it will ever be. Morally questionable things were invested into by people like Hunter Biden, John McCain, and a bunch of other people that are career politicians. They had this inside line on what would be cool if we put a bunch of our investments in the Ukraine, and Putin's over there blowing the hell out of it. Now, the problem is that everybody thinks this is about Ukraine losing its sovereignty. And in a way it is, but at the same time, he's doing you a favor and service. And the more upset that Washington gets and tells their attack dogs in the media to say how terrible this is, and look at all these bodies, that's That's not a smoke show. There's real violence going on.
Oh yeah.
But there's people that when the Ukraine got out of the Soviet Union, they were also smart and they moved the fuck out because they had the freedom to do so. That's kind of like these idiots that God, I'm a dick today. For those of you that live within a mile of the San Andreas Fault, you're an idiot because
Yes.
you know at some point that's going to happen, and you have no right to be upset.
But when it happens, they're gonna cry. You know they're going to.
Yeah.
It's the people who. It's the reason why I don't cry for the idiots who stand in the wildfire zones. You know you're in it.
We didn't forget Burisma. I didn't forget Burisma. I know
Oh, no,
Biden
no.
didn't forget Burisma. He's upset. Why is my Burisma card not working? Why is the Bank of the Ukraine ATM not dispensing any money? Yeah, and the thing is, if the Washington and media is for it, you should probably be against it because you should be thinking about, you should be thinking critically as to why is this so bad or why is something so good, especially if it's going to hurt us. Why is a war in Ukraine really going to hurt Americans? All you've got to do is ask Texas, hey, can you make more cow shit fertilizer? We only got 1,000 fucking cows here. For you people that are really smart, you guys have cows and chickens and goats on your land or some combination of the three. You should be using your compost. And you probably are. But if you're able to monetize it and sell it along with use what you can, that's even better because you are going to be able to sell it for a high price next year. Next year's fertilizer price is going to be so out the door high expensive. Expect your food cost to be about 2 times to 3 times what you're spending right now. And this is a guy, I just spent fucking $220 at the store for about 2 weeks worth of food. And not really healthy food either. I bought a lot of beer with that. My bad.
It's bread.
Yeah. Yeah, Travis says, I'm not pro Russia, but they're right and they have the balls to act. And that's the thing, they know what their neighbor is. And it's really weird that this guy this popular stand-up comic became his entire little cabinet there in Ukraine of people. Yeah, they're warriors. A lot of them are ex-military, and he was even an ex-boxer, but after they were done being warriors, they went to a life of acting. And it seems like that's the entire cabinetry of the Ukraine. Does anybody else see this as kind of weird that you would have a country ran by actors? I mean, I'm thankful that they were at least honest about it. Here we have a fake White House on camera, and Biden doesn't even he doesn't even think it's weird. I should be in the White House filming this. No, I'm over here. It's easier to poop in my pants here because they can shuttle me off screen, and I've got new pants within 20 minutes. He's really in bad shape.
I know.
I've got a couple people that are within the Beltway, and one of them has already resigned. He leaves his station at start of May. He retires, and he's not moving to Texas. He's actually going to Florida because he says Texas has got a lot of problems. So whatever we have going on here scares him enough to where he'd rather live in hurricane land. And that's how I view Florida. Like, okay, we might have problems here in Texas. Worst problem we have is the border. And the fact that we have a bunch of people not wanting to go to work for the oil field. The oil field just needs to turn on. That's it. Shadow and Sun says, it's all coming to light. We've been right all along. He makes his own fertilizer, get a composter. The ones worried about fertilizer are major producers with over 1,000 acres. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
Are you working on anything new for yourself?
Besides moving? I don't know. My life for the next month has been my life for the last 2 months has been preparing for a move, and then working and move and running, and now I'm in the last 2 weeks before it's pull the trigger, get everybody out of the and get everything out of the house. So
Were you living with friends?
No, I am living by myself. So there's no one with me at the moment. So
I know for a while there you were kind of like me. You would take a roommate, but you lived by yourself.
yes. And I'm past the point where I want to have roommates that I don't want to be with.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, totally get it. I get along with Brooke really well. He's a nice guy, but he needs to have his own space because occasionally he brings his strange bedfellows in, and my girlfriend, my wife, she doesn't want to see that. And those aren't two separate women. I just mistake sometimes, and I spent 47 years not married.
yeah. 43 and I'm now content to be around people again. So
Yeah. Kai, what do you think what do you think about shutting this one down for the day? I think we've covered the few topics I wanted to cut, and I got 3 figures finished. So I'm pretty happy with my progress for the day. It's 6 o'clock.
yeah, it is isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
I can't wait for the move to be done so I can set my paint table up again so I can actually paint again and do miniatures. So
Are you you're more of theater than mine for the most part, right?
I developed theater in mind only because of the fact that I couldn't afford miniatures for a very long time. But I'm also the same person who will pull out, you know, Avalon Hill cardboard shits, I put them on a table and go, these are the villains, and just as easily. So I have no problem going like I want to have nice painted miniatures and I'll paint them up for myself, but I'm not going to paint everybody else's stuff anymore like I used to. And yeah, I just want to like if I could have I a lot of floor space, a lot of table space, which I don't have, and a lot of time to paint, which I don't have, I would be totally all for miniatures. But all my time spent building miniatures is built for models and war game miniatures. So I am in the middle of painting like a drop fleet commander fleet right now. So
Nice.
because nobody plays that game except for me and my partner in crime, but we're like we really want to play this game because it's Battlefleet Gothic but good, and so we're working on that. We're also working on some BattleTech miniatures because his son's getting into it, so we're painting BattleTech miniatures up, and we keep telling kids, you could play some. You could play, buy your own miniatures, and they're like, no, Blaine, but you have all your miniatures, and I'm like, I don't want you to use mine. Mine are mine, but you could use mine. And so I have all my painted miniatures stored in a locked closet at the school, so that way, when it comes time for gaming, I can pull out the trays of miniatures and go, here you go, kids. Here's your cool miniatures. These are all really well painted. I know. And like, you gonna paint any more? No, I don't have time. But one day I will again, because I have my box of shame, my 2 boxes of shame.
Fair enough. Well, that does wrap it up for today's paint stream, and I do appreciate everybody popping in. Hi, Shauna, how you doing?
Hey, Sean.
Travis, Shadow and Sun, everybody that popped into the chat throughout the day, Miss Purple Valkyrie and Janet from Another Planet, and everybody that was here. I really appreciate you all being here, Paul and me, and we will be back Wednesday night. Is supposed to be our gatekeeper stream. If nobody pops one up, I will pop one up. I don't know if the crew will be ready, but Thursday night table breakers. Say again.
Do we even have a topic for that yet? Oh yeah.
We're doing middle levels.
Oh yeah, I remember now.
Yep, we're doing middle levels, and so we'll be discussing that. I think if nobody has something set for gatekeepers yet, I'll pop one on there. and we'll see how that goes. But this has been a fun paint stream, and I've enjoyed this time here with you guys. I look forward to seeing and hearing from you all throughout the week. Shauner, I'm getting ready to go watch some of your videos while I eat supper. Kai, thank you very much.
No problem. I will talk to you later then. And
Thank
thank you. And thank you for the good wishes.
Hey, man, I hope it works out.
Me too. All right. Talk to y'all later.